chairs. We have enough seats. I'm really happy to see so many people interested in our Transylvanian lectures. Welcome. It's a special edition before the European election. My name is Agnieszka Kolek, and I'm a head of cultural engagement at MCC Brussels. As you can guess, our team in Brussels is at the forefront of the battle for free, innovative, and focus on excellence Europe. It's not an easy case. I will be your hostess for tonight, and I'm really excited that I can also plug in some of our reports and our work that we've been doing in Brussels, especially in relation to the upcoming election. I think you should pay attention to the reports that we publish. The first two ones are related to agriculture, the silent war on farming, how EU policies are destroying our agriculture, and the second one, which is from our excellent researcher Thomas Fazzi, the dangers of carbon farming, an unholy alliance between finance and environmentalism. The other two reports that I would like to mention, I think you should read, download them and share with your friends. The first one, United States of Europe, the reality behind the narratives. And the second one, controlling the narrative, the EU's attack on online speech. And I think in relation to the upcoming elections, it's really important to pay attention to what's being proposed, what kind of legislations, what kind of alliances with the global corporations are done when it comes to exchange of ideas online. Now, you can download these reports on our website. Please go there. Now, turning to our event tonight, this is Transylvania Lectures, special edition. We're going to host local and international experts during two panel discussions across two crucial themes, both very important to Romania, the position as an EU country with Schengen ambitions, and also its aims to be an opportunity. It will be an opportunity for experts and governmental actors as well as the general public, and here I turn to all of you here in the audience. Please listen carefully, prepare your questions and comments, because we also want to hear from you. So it's not just going to be talking heads on the stage, it's also going to be you asking questions and making comments. The first panel, which will begin shortly, is on Romania being included in the Schengen area, and the second one is going to be on migration. Now I would like to invite to the stage our guest speakers and the moderator, Reka Mate. Thank you. Serrano Andrei, please. Ralph Schoellhammer. And Yann Caspar, please. Thank you. That's it from me for the moment. Thank you.
Is it working? No.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So, as Agnieszka was kind to say my name is Reka Mate, and I would like to shortly introduce myself and my discussion partners. So, in my main time, I'm a researcher at MCC Budapest, senior researcher, research fellow at National University of Public Service, the Ludovika University in Budapest. And I'm also teaching. I'm assistant professor at Sapientia University in Marosvásárhely, Târgu Mureș, Neumarkt. Next to me sits Professor, doctor or professor?
Well, let's go for both. Let's
go okay. For both. Ralph Schoellhammer, PhD, that's for sure. He's a former assistant professor in economics and political science at Webster University and currently is a visiting fellow at MCC Budapest. In the middle sits, that's for sure, the full professor, Andrei Țăranu. He's also a vice dean at the Department of Political Studies of National School of Political Studies and Public Administration in Budapest. Bucharest, sorry.
Yeah. Michael Jackson.
That's within 3 months.
Yeah, sorry. And last but not least is my colleague from MCC Centre of European Studies, Yann Caspar, who's also a jurist and a journalist, an author and translator. So we are going to talk about the main issues related to Romania's accession to the Schengen area. And I divided our main topics in 3 various points. The first one, the historical context. I really do not want to spend so much time on it, but there might be somebody in the audience or some individuals who are way too young to understand the historical context. So a short blink, that would be useful. And then I would like to see how the European and the national elections could impact Romania's ambitions. And last but not least, the economic, social, and the security implication that come with with joining the Schengen area. So my first question would be related to the historical context. And I would like to bring you an example. So in 2023, in November, Romania's Interior Ministry announced the dismissal of Border Police Chief and the appointment of a new head of Maramuresh Country Police Inspectorate after the mayor of Baia Mare fled the country hours before a court sentenced him. So that was a fair decision. But obviously this raises the question whether similar cases of inadequate border control and possible corruption could be the main leading cause of Romania's delayed accession to the Schengen area. And obviously there might be some other reasons as well, and I would like to discover these with you together. So I would like to ask first, Mr. Schoellhammer, the Netherlands and Austria were the ones who contested for a very, very long time Romania's accession to the Schengen area. Today, Austria is left alone. Why is still opposing Austria Romania's accession to the Schengen area?
Well, I mean, I'm in the awkward position to defend Austria's policies to a Romanian audience. It's a good question. I think it's a fair question. My first thing to say is there's currently a game being played in many policy areas within the European Union that by now I believe the Hungarians are very familiar with, which is that one country says something that is very unpopular, but behind closed doors, many other countries agree with it. I think we see this in the Hungarian case. We saw this with foreign policy in some areas where the Hungarians formulate something that everybody says they're against, but behind closed doors they thank the Hungarians for doing it. And it's very similar, unfortunately, of course, with the Schengen issue. Everything that even remotely sounds in any way, shape or form like open borders gets immediately a populist emotional backlash in Western Europe. A colleague of mine, he has a small polling agency, and they did a poll, a small sample in Austria, asking them what their take is on expanding the Schengen area. And about over 88% said definitely not. And then the second question they asked was, do you know what Schengen actually is? And 80% said, we have no idea. But it sounds like open borders, and we are against open borders. And I think this is a little bit the problem we currently have in this conversation. It's not so much that Austrians or those who behind closed doors support the approach of the Austrians as the Dutch did for a while, that it's kind of animosity against Romania, that's animosity against Romanians. It's just this intuitive since 2015, right? This intuitive reaction that everything that sounds like open borders, people say no to. So wherever people feel that there is a chance to limit migration, illegal, legal, you name it, they kind of opt for that possibility. And I think we see this with Schengen as well. It's a little bit populist by the Austrians, I'm not going to deny, right? I mean, there is no profound economic or social reason to deny Romania to join the Schengen area. But there is this sentiment among the population that this is just going to be another way in which waves of migrants might come to the country. And I'm not even talking about Romanians here, right? I think that's not even the issue. And this is what just at the moment, there is no appetite for that in the population.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, you say that it's mainly a rhetoric that Austria uses, and it's not really against Romanian population, but they might be afraid of other third countries, citizens coming to Austria through Romanian borders?
I think that is accurate. Yes, I think that's a very accurate description, yes.
Okay, thank you. So it would be fair to ask our Romanian conversation part, what are the measures that Romania took so far to prove that it is not...
Now, from this point, Austria is really hypocritic, totally hypocritic, because in the same time when Austria rejects Romania and Bulgaria to enter into the Schengen, except in the same time Croatia as a member of a Schengen zone. And if you are looking, the shores of Croatia are much, much longer than the shores of Romania, which is less than 100 kilometers. So from where come the migrants through Romania, which goes in Austria? This is the real question. So what Mr. Nehammer did, it was a totally hypocrisy. It was not the problem of migration per se. It was the problem of his political backlash, and it was his problem about how he can deal with what is Österreich-Freiheit Partei, the Liberty Party to Austria, from Austria, or something like that. That is the real problem, because he put the problem, the internal problems, into the European problems and the foreign affairs. This is the main hypocrisy, what happens there. But you ask about history, and it's really important, because we didn't enter, and let us, our colleagues, to understand very well. I mean, Romania and Bulgaria, if you remember, doesn't enter in the same wave. We are calling it the second wave of integration into the European Union in 2004, but in 2007, because it was one red flag. It was the flag of justice and internal affairs. And because of this red flag, we was a little bit delayed than the rest of the other countries, that mean Poland, Malta, and whatever. But we were on the same file as the second wave. So we have all the second wave's condition, and we accepted. I mean, Romania accepted to postpone the enter into the Schengen space for 4 years after, that means 2011, in order to fulfill the requirement for this red flag. And this is why we didn't enter within the same time, and that started the problem, because in 2011 it was France which denied Romania and Bulgaria to enter into the Schengen space, and after that it was Germany, Finland, and others, and so on and so far. If we are going to number that, probably without Italy, all the European countries sometimes denied our entrance. But now we have to say that Romania for sure fulfilled all the criteria to enter in Schengen, and Austria's position is pretty much ununderstandable.
Can I just real quick, because you're absolutely right, and I think it is hypocritical. But of course, there's something, and I think this is very important also for the younger audience in here, because you said at the beginning we delve into the history, but I think this is the long shadow of history. The Austrian self-understanding, and that goes almost across all party lines. That's not even just a right or left wing thing. That's an understanding. Has always seen itself as the voice, if you want, or as a protector of Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia not so much, but of kind of let's say the Catholic parts of the Balkans. Let's put it this way: there is a strong Balkan lobby in Austria, particularly with the Croatians, on a more economic/ridiculous reason. Of course, there is both family bonds and tourist bonds with Croatia, so there was a clear interest in kind of having them in the Schengen area much sooner. And these bonds, unfortunately, I have to say, because I would see this, I would like to see this much more recognized across Europe. But that's just because my mindset is still stuck in 1867. I still believe that the Austro-Hungarian Empire is around, so I might should have my head checked out regarding this. But that's of course the long shadow of history, right? That there is a sentiment that was more welcoming, and I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just describing how it is. That was more welcoming towards parts of the Balkans, like Croatia, than for example with Romania. Right? Romania enjoys or suffers, however you want to put it, from a different reputation the further west you go than for example Croatia. Again, and I don't mean this I'm not defending this, I'm not saying that's a good thing, I'm just saying this is unfortunately how it partially is.
But was it necessary for Austria to choose between Romania and Croatia? Why couldn't it support also Romania's accession?
Because it was perfectly described, right? I mean, the kind of supporting Croatia was popular both among the right and the left. Rejecting Romania was particularly popular right of center, because it seemed, as was correctly pointed out, as if the current government is taking a hard stance against any risk of increased migration. Whether or not that would have materialized was almost a secondary thought. It was symbolic, yeah, absolutely. One has to be very fair here, like the Romanians in this case have become the victim of a more or less symbolic act by the Austrian government towards its own population, absolutely.
Something else to add, Mr. Zorano?
No, at this very moment.
Okay. So it seems that there were rather interior politics that defined in various countries how they looked and to what degree they supported Romania's accession to Schengen area. But were there any other possible reasons why other countries, so for example France or any other country, could have opposed joining Romania Schengen area? Mr. Caspar?
No, but I agree what the gentleman said here is where you mentioned this word hypocrisy. Well, actually it's called politics. Everyone is playing his own game, and on this case, of course, maybe the Romanian authorities has a responsibility also. I don't know, that's a matter of responsibility, that's the past, and hopefully it's going to be solved maybe this year, but I'm not sure, because we'll have also elections in Austria at the end of September, so that could have an impact on this topic. I would take the problem from different perspective a little bit. You know, I was born and I grew up 100 kilometers from Schengen. Schengen is actually a very beautiful village, actually, in Luxembourg at the border with France and Germany. And when all this idea of Schengen free movement was created in the 70s, in the 80s, that was, of course, completely understandable for historical and economic reasons. And I think that, and again, it's not a matter of what the Romanian authorities did was bad choices, responsibility, or what the Austrian did was a dirty game. No, I'm not talking about this. I think that the people that are being worried about this extension, it's justified. because it's not the same Europe anymore. What the rules and the legal framework that we have for Schengen today, it needs to be up to date. It's not working anymore. We can see once we have a crisis or something, countries are closing their borders. Now I read yesterday that Germany will do so from September. Slovakia did it. France did it at the Italian border. There is always this game, and I really think that we have to put everything on the table again and rethink the way we define Schengen, because Schengen is rather a matter of external border. As I told in my introduction, I was born at the German border, in a part of France that we rather speak German there. I'm half Hungarian, so I'm really a true European, and I cannot oppose Schengen. But what I can see is that if we completely change the map of our external borders, and if people responsible for this in Brussels will have to manage this new map, I really don't think that we can trust them. Look at what happened in 2015. Everybody was criticizing very loudly Hungary, and now they all recognize that, well, actually what did Hungary was just applying the legal framework, protecting the external border of Schengen, the external border of Hungary, and the external border of the European Union, just by trying to know who is entering Schengen. And that was enough to criticize the Hungarian government at that time. I am not sure that we can trust the European authorities, because we will talk about this, it will have an impact on security issues, migration, that's the topic of the second panel. It's not the same Europe anymore also for economic reasons, the trade, the goods coming from China through the Black Sea, it has a lot of legal and economic impact. And I really think that rather to talk about Austrian responsibility or Romanian responsibility and this game and the Netherlands, etc., we show what did the Brussels elite during 20 years. They just let this go, right, doing nothing. And actually it was a very good tool, and they put this matter on the table to generate, I will not say fake crisis, but migration nowadays, it's a good way to campaign in Austria, etc. It was like an infection, and their aim was absolutely not to solve the problem. Because all what I'm talking about, it was valid 20 years ago, and it was possible to know what is going to happen once we put Romania and Bulgaria in the same zone.
What do you mean?
I mean,
what do you mean? We all know what's going to happen.
The trade, the migration roads, then all the workers that are coming from Romania to Western Europe, all this problematic.
Why is that a problem?
I mean, why is there a problem? Well, because they are moving.
Isn't that the whole essence of the European
Union? It's not a problem.
Union?
It's a topic now. It's, for example, from a Hungarian perspective, it's completely obvious that we need Romania in the Schengen zone, because it's not possible to have that kind of situation at the border, waiting 3 or 4 hours. Well, you know all these reasons. It's not possible anymore in 2024 to have this kind of border inside something that is called a common family or something in the European Union. It's not possible anymore. And what I am saying is that, okay, it was an internal game in Austria. Romania probably has a responsibility as well. There were, I don't know, administrative problems at the borders. I don't know how to call this. But the main responsibility has to be found in Brussels, I think, because they didn't. No, you don't understand with this.
I don't agree. I
You don't
understand
agree? You don't
perfectly.
You think it's Austria's fault? I don't think there is any
Let me- once
strategy,
again, that-
comprehensive strategy in the European Commission to have something smart, fast, that they thinking through during years. I cannot see any strategy, and I'm not sure that we can trust them. Just a quick example, Migration Pact. The Migration Pact, you have a very good measure, actually, is that we control the visa that we gave to people that are coming from outside the EU. We won't give them visa within the Union, in France, in Germany, but outside. This is very good. This is a very good approach, because we all know that once they enter, even if there are problems, we cannot kick them out. Even if they are staying illegally, it's not possible anymore. Look at the statistic in France. We have what we call the OQTF, obligation quitter le territoire français, where someone is obligated to quit the French territory. Only 5 or 6% are being applied. They stay, which is a huge problem. But still, it is a part of the migration path. It was voted, which is very good. But at the same time, there are other measures that are completely in contradiction with this. So I cannot see any logic in this, and that's my point, is that we need to rebuild this confidence with Brussels, because that's the main problem.
Okay, I think I got your point, and I would like Mr. Țăranu to hold on to his comments until I put another question. You mentioned that you are not sure whether we can trust the elites from Brussels. Who exactly is the elites from Brussels? Because 2/3 or pretty much everybody who works in Brussels is somehow related to the nation states. When you say that we cannot trust the elites in Brussels,
we know that the structure, the body that is giving the tempo, the rhythm, is the European Commission. Okay, I understand your question, who is the elite, there is no elite, etc. Well, no, this is the European Commission has the initiative to initiate legislation, the European Parliament doesn't matter, which is a huge problem. Of course, elections are important but for internal reasons, not for European. We are not. Yesterday we had a talk about this. The people that are not talking about European matters. The election will be in 2 weeks. In France, it's exactly the same. It's a referendum against Macron, or in favor. In Hungary, it's rather internal politics. So no, it's completely obvious. It's the European Commission.
okay, and now,
And
please,
now.
Mr. Țăranu, now that we know who are the Brussels elites.
So, first of all, the European Commission have nothing to do with the Schengen problem. When the Schengen issue, it's a totally different issue, which is on the backyard of the internal affairs and juridic committee, which is totally out of the European Commission, so nothing to do with. I can agree, it's the only thing I can agree, that the Schengen system have to be changed. That's true. But I'm more radical than you, because I don't want that the national states to have something to say or to do with the Schengen problem, but have to be at the Brussels or the level of the Commission. Because I was 1 month ago between Hungary and Slovenia, and it was a border control made also by the Hungarians and the Slovenians, and it was like in Nădlac in Romania. So hundreds of trucks staying there, losing petroleum, make a lot of noise, heat, and so on. So, and for nothing actually. If probably the drugs between Hungary and Slovenia pass somewhere, for sure they pass, because only showing the papers of the truck, it was not enough. So yes, I'm totally agree to change the Schengen system and to give it to the Commission, which you don't like it, but from this point of view, the Schengen problem, it was not, and it's still not the problem of the European Commission. Second, for sure, we can change probably the European Union, but let's change it all together, being together in the same ship. I mean, because that's, you know, it's very interesting. You are here in Romania. In Romania, lost in the last 15, 17 years, probably a quarter of its population, which are the migrants you are talking about.
No,
but they are,
external,
but somehow they are the good migrants, let's say.
No, I was talking about the external borders. And the role of the European deciders. Well, I understand your legal point that it's not the responsibility of the European Commission, that Schengen agreements, it's not directly the EU law, it's something different, but okay, I understand. From a legal point of view, you are right, but when we take a look at it very closely from a political point of view, I really think that the European Commission is the body responsible for this mess. We cannot be satisfied. It's a huge it's a disaster. I mean, it took 70 years to enter only partially the Schengen zone. I mean, it's obvious from my point of view to here when we talk about responsibility, we cannot say, oh, it's because you understand. My point is to defend Romania here.
I was not talking about Romania.
I really think that we need to share the responsibilities. Well, change the, okay, I understand in the same ship, but again, for me, it's completely obvious that we need to have a free movement within the European Union. That's
but
Romania.
Previously you said that it is a problem that we are moving.
Yeah, you said that, so. Okay, but the problem is, so to be 100% legal, yeah, we are not talking only about Romania. We are talking about Romania and Bulgaria because we are on the same file. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we are on the same package. You cannot put only Romania and let Bulgaria outside, or put Bulgaria and let Romania outside. We have to be all together there. And yes, from this point of view, Schengen have to be more interested in the external borders of the European Union because, yes, are a lot of problems, but if you are looking not too much into, for example, in Romania, not even in Bulgaria, but if you are looking at a lot of problems in Hungary, which accepted until a few months ago the Indian citizens without visa, and they are coming directly on Schengen space by air. So it was quite simple not just to avoid Romania and Bulgaria, not to stay there, but coming without visa, the Indians directly into the Schengen space. This is the problem. Yes, we have to change the philosophy of the Schengen space. But on the other side, mainly because next week that will be the European election, let the political hypocrisy outside, because this is the real problem of the European Union now. the rise of the populism and the illiberal systems pretty much everywhere. Yeah? Because they said, okay, even those second-class citizens as Romanian and Bulgarians can enter, but nobody else, which is a sort of a racist. Let's put it very clear.
In Hungary, don't have this. For example, to unlock the situation,
I'm sorry, but I will have to interrupt this conversation between the two gentlemen and just turn to Mr. Schoellhammer and ask him, how does he see... Is it still working?
At least nobody's attacking Austria anymore, so...
Let's put everything on Austria and that will be fine.
So how do you see the essence of the Schengen area and the role that the European Union / the Commission plays in maintaining this area?
Well, let's maybe trying to break it down in a less technical way, because I think also for the audience, maybe if we kind of retreat a little bit from the purely technical in something that's more intuitively graspable. I mean, let me ask you, if you build, a storm shelter, what's the best way to tell whether or not you build a successful storm shelter? Precisely, having a storm, and this is but that's the answer to this. And what we have seen over the last, whether it was the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, whether it was the migrant crisis in 2015, whether it was COVID, many of these, and again, this does not give me any joy, but I think we have to look the facts straight in the eye. Many of the institutions the European Union are built on are what I call, that sounds a little bit polemic, I hope you can forgive me, but they're basically fair weather institutions. Right? They were built supposedly for a crisis, but once the crisis came, they did not hold very well. I mean, in 2015, Schengen didn't exist between Austria and Germany, right? The Austrians said, hey, listen, Germans, if you want to open up your borders, that's fine by us, but we're not going to open ours. So we're going to re-establish border controls. We're going to let everybody move through to Germany, and then we kind of close the door behind them. We saw the same in 2008, right? The ECB, the European contracts, there were all these lofty ideas, no bailout clauses, and there were Maastricht criteria, all these kind of things. Once the financial crisis hit, it pretty much was every economy for themselves. COVID, the same thing, right? Where was European solidarity during COVID? Right? The Germans said, yeah, we have protective gear. We're not going to give it to the Italians, but once the pandemic comes to us, we're going to need it ourselves, right? You had these pictures then when the Chinese kind of, came with their planes, kind of like a colonial power, then granting protective gear to the Italians because all their European friends let them hanging. And I think what we see is always the big dilemma we have in Europe. Europe is a fantastic place. Right, from Portugal to the Russian border, whether Russia is European or not is a dicey topic at the moment. But I think that's a really important point, because we are at the same time so similar and yet so different. There are not many places that are so diverse, but there's I think not a single other place on this planet where you have that level of diversity, yet also have a significant degree of a shared identity. Like every Romanian is European, just like every Austrian is European. And we intuitively know this. You don't have the same thing, for example, in Asia. Like no Japanese and Chinese, right? They know that they're geographically in Asia, but the kind of bonds between the Chinese and the Japanese are nothing compared to the bonds between European countries. The same you see, talk to Koreans.
Even if Mr. Sorano feels that he is treated sometimes as a second-class citizen?
No, there is some truth to this, and I think this goes to the heart of the problem. I think we have to re-establish and we are still very often in the 1989 mindset. I mean, I forced myself, for example, to call Hungary no longer an Eastern European but a Central European country because I want to break this down. I mean, people mock me for this, but exactly to prevent what you just made, because you're absolutely correct. But the more again, this is just my emotional crutch. I mean, everybody has to find something with them. But I find the idea of kind of the bonds that existed for centuries between, for example, Vienna and Transylvania, right? I find this more intriguing, more encouraging, and more of an outlook into the future than what happened between 1945 and 1989. What communism has done to kind of the family of peoples in Europe, I mean, is for me still probably the worst crime ever to be committed, because it ripped our house apart and we are still not fully capable of reunifying it. So I agree with that. I think we have to find ways to change the mindset, and you're fully correct in this, right? There is a sense that, exactly, so the Hungarians are European, the Croatians are, but the Romanians, it is there. It's wrong. It's wrong, but it is there. It is. I mean, I just want to, because then we sound like, two teenagers on a US college campus, so I don't want to use the word racism. But it's not an entirely, it's not an entirely misplaced sentiment or thing to describe. But this is the EU thoughts that they are, or the current EU, that's my last point, right? They think that they just had to push to put the finishing touches on the European project, when in fact we basically are done digging the basement. And I think this is kind of a change of mindset that we need to have.
Thank you. If there would be any other comments and questions related to the past or to the conversation that developed between Mr. Caspar and Mr. Zoranu, then we will gonna come back in the space and time left for questions and comments. But now I would like to move forward to the next topic, which is the impact of the European election. And as identity and as the greater Austria-Hungary idea came up, I have to make a confession. Probably some of you know that I was born and raised here in Turgumures as an ethnic Hungarian, and I moved after many, many countries I stayed in to Budapest. So for me, I do need to make a mental transition that my travel to Kolozsvár, Cluj-Napoca, or to Marosvásárhely, Neumarkt, Turgumures is not an internal travel, what I did write in our interior documents. So for me, it feels natural to move between these two countries, but it is still not that easy. And I was really eased up when this time in April, for the first time, I flew from Budapest to Neumarkt, Budapest, Marosvásárhely, and I got the chance to experience how it is to go home, from one home to the other home, without being controlled that strictly at the airport. And I hope that even when I travel by car later on, that will come even easier, just when we travel, I don't know, from Budapest to, I don't know, Czech Republic, Czechia, or to Austria. I'm not saying Slovenia because, as you mentioned, there were some problems. So for us, for ethnic Hungarians and for Hungary, having Romania fully joined the Schengen area is not only from political point of view important, but also from economic point of view. So we are very strong supporters of Romania's joining the full Schengen area, not only partially. And we are hopeful that maybe the national or the European elections might change the current situation of Romania and Bulgaria. So my questions now would be related to specifically the national and the European Parliament election, how this could impact Romania's path. So for starters, Mr. Schoellhammer, could the legislative election from September in your country change the country's position? And you mentioned the importance of narratives and the internal politics. How about the EP elections?
I don't think that the EP elections are going to have a huge impact. The elections to the European Parliament, and again, I don't just try to be polemic here, but they are mostly a symbolic act, right? The European Parliament is a parliament that, I mean, I'm being slightly polemic here, but it's not entirely wrong, is a parliament that does not really have the most important right of a parliament, which is to make laws, to create laws, to suggest laws. It is, in a sense, slightly undemocratic because I don't have the precise numbers in my head, but I think a representative, a member of parliament from Luxembourg represents, I don't know, about 2,000 Luxembourgians. A member of parliament from Germany represents about 200,000 Germans. So even that is, and it's not really a European election. I vote for an Austrian party, and then there's a specific distribution. I would love, don't get me wrong, real European elections where I can be in Austria and vote for Fidesz, for example. Or maybe not, right? Depending where you stand politically. But I think that would be really interesting. I would find a real European campaign, right, where you have a French politician coming to Vienna or a Hungarian politician coming to Bucharest. I would find that exciting. But it shows you again this one thing, that Europe is simultaneously so similar and so different. This would be almost impossible, right? It's hard for an American presidential candidate to tour the United States. But can you imagine if you want to run, let's say that the president of the commission would be elected by popular vote, and then Ursula von der Leyen would have to campaign from Portugal to Poland? I mean, if you're a translator, it's probably great. I mean, we would actually, I'm joking, but only partially, where you basically would have to go back to a Habsburgian education where everybody who goes into politics has to speak 12 languages, because otherwise you could not run a campaign.
27.
Yes, I mean, I find this a beautiful idea. I mean, if I would have any say, I would replace the president of the European Commission with a Habsburg permanently anyways, but I'm always getting too far ahead of myself. But again, to put it back into a more serious issue, no, like the European elections will not have that much of a difference. My suggestion, if I would be a politician in Romania, would be, because I agree with everything that has been said, I also agree very much with the criticism that was aimed at Austria, because it is justified, but I'm afraid that nothing is going to change that quickly. So maybe there is a possibility to find a compromise. When I was picked up by my wonderful host today to come here, we had a wonderful conversation about infrastructure, and that some of the railways are still from the Habsburg times. So I think probably if we cannot solve the legal problems, let's do infrastructure, right? If we can make sure that you can get from Bucharest to Budapest to Vienna in half the time, I think you probably could even then work through, let's say, not full membership in the Schengen area. As I say this as somebody who wants Bulgaria and Romania in Schengen, but I think what is currently happening is this kind of re-emergence of borders within Europe. So the trend is no friend of these hopes at the moment. Unfortunately, this is, I think, what we have to face. So let's try to find ways around. If you are a talent, and also, by the way, from a PR perspective, I was not aware that there are fantastic programs in Romania in the IT sector. Right, that Romania is trying to build up a very impressive industry. I'm sure if more people outside would know that, then maybe it would not just be Romanians leaving Romania, there might actually be people moving into Romania. But going back to what we said previously,
Second panel will discuss this.
Yeah, there's so much. There's a mindset that sees parts of Europe in a specific way. So nobody would ever think probably of moving to Romania because they don't know anything about Romania. And these areas might be more important on the medium to long run than Schengen membership or half membership or no membership.
Thank you. That's very valuable. Mr. Serrano.
It's amazing what Ralph said, because if you are looking back in the history, that was the main idea of the founding fathers of the European Union. If you remember, some of them were running as MPs in Italy, even they were French citizens or something like that. So, yeah, we have to come back to the roots. Yeah. I mean, some way, somehow, in the middle, the path was going wrong, but that in the roots they are not so bad in their philosophy. Coming back to your question, first of all, you mentioned something which is very important. That means identity. I wrote a little article which called the title is Goodbye Ideology, Welcome Identity. Unfortunately, that happens now, and that's really bad, because if you are looking, the political party tend and describe themselves to be ideological. To be ideological means to have a purpose, means to have a goal somewhere in the future. identity have no goals. Identity exists. That means identity is only on your life. But unfortunately, more and more parties in Europe, even mainstream parties, as the Social Democratic Party here in Romania, they are claiming more about identity, proud to be Romanian. You can see it pretty much on every billboard. The identity became the new ideology, but identity not being an ideology, have no purpose, and having only the idea to gather all around in our little tribes, Romanian, Austrians, Hungarians, Frenchmen, whatsoever, and looking to our identity not to be disturbed by anybody else. And from this point of view, we are missing the main idea of the European Union, which means to going from the tribes to a union of tribes, now like it happens in the prehistory. That means that we need to do, and this is why the Schengen problem, it's more philosophical than it's only a political quarrel between Austria and Romania and Bulgaria. It is about being European. And unfortunately, once again, Caspar is right, we are not talking about being European on the European election. We are talking about being Romanian, Frenchman, Austrian, Hungarian, Italian, or whatsoever, and we are going with our problems to the European Parliament, doing nothing with them, but asking to the Commission to solve all our problems. And here is the bad path we didn't follow the rules and the routes, as I said.
And related to just what you mentioned, let's be proud Romanians, and the upcoming elections, which similarly to many other countries, the European parliamentary elections will be held concomitantly with local elections. I didn't really see and I didn't really follow that attentively, the Romanian politics, but I didn't really see that the Schengen area is prioritized in the political narratives currently as a European topic. So do you think that, that it shouldn't be, and it's perfectly fine, we should be focusing on our identities and kind of just chiming back to what Mr. Schoellhammer said previously, having the infrastructure, having common identity and not prioritizing Schengen, this is how it should be, or is there place and possibility for Romania to leverage on this question?
Ask me.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, for the Romanian politician, not even for the Romanian people, the Schengen problem, it was not a problem until 2022. In 2022, in December, if you remember, the Romanian politician had a sort of a dream that we are going to be in Schengen because nobody opposed to us. And they just started to claim they had the victory. The Social Democrats talk with the Social Democrats, the Popular, that mean our liberals, and the Hungarian party talk with their Popular Party, and all of them start to talk about the Schengen, which never exists in the national narrative. And Austria appears. The beautiful dream of coming in Schengen just disappeared. And Austria became our national enemy like it was in the First World War. And after that, we are talking pretty much about nothing because once again, between 2011 until 2022, the subject of Schengen, you can follow all the newspapers, TV series or something, doesn't exist. It was just, and starting from that, because the dream, this is ideology, because something is going to happen. And it was very nice because they put ideology and identity all together, and that starts to be more interesting. Everybody was summoned on the televisions to said, wow, we are going to be in Schengen. We are already into the European Union. Who already left Romania did it, so it was not so much. The economical problem, yes, it is a huge economical problem to see hundreds or thousands
We will talk about
of
this
lorries
later.
start staying on the border, using millions of gallons of oil and something, just staying there. Yeah? That stopped the main idea of the European Union, which is the free circulation of people and goods. Yeah? So that's the problem. It's not Austria. It's the problem of the main idea of the European Union. From this point of view, we have to talk about Schengen, not about Austria, Romania, Bulgaria. How nice is Hungary because she wants us into Schengen, and Austria, she's not, so we have a new enemy. Sorry.
Okay. Mr. Caspar, how could have Romania leverage the election, the EP elections, or its outcomes in the future to further its agenda?
To be honest, I'm a little bit pessimistic. I don't think that those elections are going to change a lot. There will probably be a different share within the groups. The ECR groups is going to grow, but there's a question with the ID group, rather they will be together or separately. But I think that the main, the political color of the European Parliament is not going to change. It's somewhere between the center left and center right, and so it doesn't.
Will we have the same elites?
No, but yeah. To Hungarian presidency. It will be from the 1st of July. So I'm not sure that the EP elections are going to change a lot. I think that the elections in Austria are going to have a much higher impact on the Schengen question than the EP elections. But from 1st of July, as you may know, Hungary is going to take his turn to be the Hungarian presidency. And the Schengen question is one of the priority of the Hungarian leaders. But it's quite obvious that Hungary is going to be a little bit under attack during this 6 months. And who is going to attack Hungary? The Commission.
Or Romania?
The Commission. Or the people that are around the Commission, but the Commission is not going to change a lot in its political thinking. So I really think that politically, yes, they do have a direct impact on this question, and they give the pulse of this question on this question, and well, hopefully before the end of the year, Romania will be full member of Schengen, but maybe that Hungary is going to play a role on this topic, but you know what? Actually, I really think that it can be even worse because the situation will be more conflictual after the EP elections. It will be more polarized.
What could that conflictual, more polemic situation?
In France, you know, we have this Rassemblement National who could make like between 30 and 35%, which is huge. And you know, I could spend hours
would they support Romania's accession? Would they support Romania's accession?
I don't think they have a clear position on this. They are against new memberships, extensions. They don't have any interest to oppose this. But what I would say is that politically, we have in several countries situations that are blocked. conflicts are going to happen. That's for sure. And maybe, and really I don't hope so, that Romania is going to be a victim of this game, because this is going to be a second category topic again. We have here a window that we could use with the Hungarian presidency, new parliament, etc. If we have a better situation in Austria, but if we have higher intensity conflicts, political conflict in Western Europe, probably they're not going to deal with this issue, unfortunately. That's the problem. Because what you said about this second category citizenship, believe me, and this is really a bad news, and for me, it hurts me directly. I grew up in Western Europe, and I can assure you that mentally, yes, they consider people from Central and Eastern Europe as second category citizens. This is completely true, and this is something very deep that I don't think that there is any technical solution to this problem. And just a concrete example to close the external border, because this mindset, this kind of thinking, like thinking that they are a second category citizen, it has also economic impact. For example, you know, in our Italian colleague, I'm sure that he's going to confirm this, and there's a lot of problems at the Italian borders, the coast. Did the EU help Italy? No. Do you think that they are going to help Romania if there is any issue with the external border? I mean, when I'm talking about helping, I'm talking about money.
Yeah.
No.
They don't help Hungary either.
So that's my main problem.
Yeah, from this point, it's very interesting because the Frontex ship from Romania helped Italy or Greece, not the European Union, not Austria, Germany, or other countries. Austria just put other control on the put the control on the borders with Italy in order not to accept the migrants which just flew into Italy.
And with this, I would like to switch quickly to our last topic, the economic impact of Romania's joining the Schengen area. And we have 30 minutes left in which we should include all our comments, plus allow the audience to raise their questions and have your last thoughts. So I would like to ask you to be short and sweet. You mentioned that maybe Romania's accession isn't that important, and maybe we should focus rather on building infrastructure. But as an economist, do you think that still having Romania's full Schengen area membership could bring benefit to Romania's economy?
Yes, I do. But I think the more attractive Romania gets economically, the more likely it is that they will enter the Schengen area.
So currently, the Commission's said that Romania's economic growth will be the second highest in the EU. So does that mean that, okay, Romania is doing well and maybe next year?
Yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction, but without changing the topic of the panel. But we always have to try to distinguish between causes and symptoms. And as we have kind of laid out in this conversation already, we also mentioned ideology, we mentioned identity, we mentioned sentiment, we mentioned emotions. And a lot of what is currently going on, and the Schengen issue with Romania is a symptom of that, is that Europe is declining. I mean, I think, again, it's particularly again for the young people in the audience. I mean, this is the most important thing you must be aware of at the moment. Germany is committing economic suicide. France is committing economic suicide, such as a somewhat slower rate. We see the same happening. Poland is an exception. As I said, Eastern and Central Europe are somewhat exceptions, but let's put it this way: if France and Germany go over the cliff, they're going to drag the rest down with them. So the idea that then the Poles and the Romanians will shoulder the European economy, that's not going to happen. So we need a complete turnaround in all of Europe. I mean, I just give you a few numbers, just real quick to make this point very clear. In 2010, the United States and the European economy, including Great Britain at the time, was about the same size. Now, at the time we were speaking here, the American economy is 50% larger. Even if the UK would still be part of the EU, the American economy would still be 30% larger. The semiconductor manufacturer NVIDIA in the United States, one company, has the same market capitalization like Germany's largest 30 DAX companies. Right? I mean, this is not what an industrial powerhouse has. Yes, I know there is ASML and there is a couple of niche companies that are really good and we make the best wine and the best cheese. And without a doubt, the women in Europe are more beautiful than anywhere else. That's all great. That maybe we can sell them all to the Chinese because they don't have any women left. But that's not really a recipe for the future.
Audience.
No, I'm very serious about this. And we are we must be careful. We are like in a car that is driving towards a cliff, and we are discussing whether we should go full speed over the cliff, or maybe if we should switch gear. But it's not enough, right? You have to change course. And this is, I think, something we have to be very, very aware of. Like the reason why the borders come up again, why we're insulating ourselves again, is because people justifiably so feel insecure. They feel insecure economically, they feel insecure culturally, they feel insecure demographically. Like we are a continent, we all share this, in deep, deep crisis. The same is Romania as well. What is the current fertility rate in Romania? Is it about 1.6, 1.7?
It's less.
It's less. So I mean, if the current trends continue, you guys might join Schengen, but there won't be many Romanians left to live to see it.
And when you said we need to mention...
And I am the bad guy, and he's saying that kind of stuff. So,
So
record this.
But he's the Austrian, so
He has the right to do it.
He's one of us. Okay, Mr. Țăranu, you mentioned being the second-class citizen.
I didn't mention.
Yeah.
I told it.
Okay. Yeah, probably.
But
So,
yeah, for sure, if we are going to be full members of Schengen, it's not only the Romanians, but imagine from Greece to the Hungarian borders, the lorries are going just to flew into the European Union without any problem. This is the main idea. We are somehow here just stopping a third part of the European Union growth, just staying on the border. This is the main idea.
that's a clear economic disadvantage.
Philosophically, Ralph, it's totally right. You know, we have a lot of problems economically speaking, and we put another one, just on say, I mean, yeah, what, let's have it. We can share, we can make the burden greater.
Could there be any social advantages for Romanians if Romania would join the full Schengen area?
Social, I don't think, but symbolically, yes. I mean, once again, the people who wants to feel European can take a plane. Yeah, and they are going from Schengen, from Cluj to Rome in a Schengen place. It's easy. The problem, once again, it's here on the terrestrial border, where the people just stay and looking like it was in 1989 to the other part of the Europe.
Okay. And Mr. Caspar, are there any major security challenges if Romania would join today or tomorrow or right after the EP elections, Schengen area?
Yeah, just to add something, I saw data on this. A truck is staying average, I think, 16 hours at the border, 20 hours at the Bulgarian border. So this is huge. It's just have a concrete example of this economic nonsense. Well, security threats. Yeah, I mean, again, let's go back to the most important topic, I think, because I think we all agree on this internal free movement, and this situation has to be unlock. But unfortunately, I'm not sure it's going to happen this year. The context is maybe it might block it even more longer. The situation in Ukraine, migration roads. I saw yesterday.
Could you elaborate on these, please? The situation in Ukraine, migration roads. Please elaborate.
Romania has a very long border with Ukraine, so it will be the border of the Schengen area, which means that the Romanian authorities are going to be entitled to control who is entering the Schengen area. Ukraine is a country at war, so it's a place we don't know exactly what is happening, who is who, from where they are coming, what are they aim. We might have, I know a lot of people that are working in healthcare in Budapest. There's a lot of people that are coming from Ukraine that they have very serious health problems, being mentally ill because all this trauma and of course I'm not criticizing them. I don't want to attack them, but this is dangerous for us. So we need to have a very smart border policy. But that's only the Ukrainian problem. But the migration roads might change. Also, we have the huge port of Constanța. I think that Netherlands blocked rather because of this, because they don't want. No, yeah,
no, that's for sure.
Who would like to elaborate between the two gentlemen?
But it's not the case anymore. But a lot of goods are coming from China.
Okay, but
which
just
means
staying on the topic, who would like, Mr. Sorano, please elaborate the question of the port.
About Constanța?
Yeah,
and Rotterdam.
And Rotterdam.
I mean, if you are looking, Constanța, it's in a very little sea, which is pretty much a lake, and which is connected with another big lake, with the Mediterranean Sea. So, and this big lake, Mediterranean Sea, it's connected with the Indian Ocean with a very little strip of water we are calling Suez Gate. So, and Rotterdam, it's staying on the Atlantic Ocean, connecting directly United Kingdom and United States with Europe. So from this point of view, you have no comparison what to do with Constanța, which is just little and cannot afford to have very large ship which are made in South Korea by Daewoo, which is 4 or 5 times bigger in shipment in deadweight than a normal ship. So a normal ship that not can enter into the Straits of Dardanelles and in Istanbul. So what are we thinking? This is a sort of a dream to put Constanța nearby Rotterdam. It's like putting, I don't know, Albania nearby United States. That means we are people too, for sure, but it's not anything to be compared with.
It seems that Mr. Caspar does not agree.
No, it's not that I don't agree, but we don't know. Here we have to talk about trends. For example, why? Because this might change. Of course, Constanța is never going to be a huge hub or port as Rotterdam, but since a few years, what we can see is that everything that goes in the direction of alternative commercial roads, the British, the Netherlands, and the Americans, they are trying to stop those projects. For example, the best example of this is completely different topic, but we
just short
yeah.
and sweet.
Yeah. No, but okay, no, we have a lot of problem in the Suez region, and Bab al-Mandeb also is a very hot point, so I'm not sure that what you're saying now is right, but in 30 years, I'm not sure that we will have the same commercial map. Back to security issues, maybe. Again, we need to change this architecture. It's not possible to have, now they say that in 5 years they are going to hire 10,000 more Frontex agents or something. That was the promise in the Migration Pact. I mean, this is completely ridiculous. Considering the challenges that we are going to face, the demographic boom in Africa, the situation in the Middle East, it's completely laughable what we are doing. I mean, there will be such a flow of migration coming in the next decades that if we are not prepared this, it's very simple. It's going to happen. We will try to block it for a few weeks, and then they are all going to enter, and it could have very terrible consequences. So, and of course, then they will say, "Oh, that is the fault of Romania," because that's the way they act. The non-existing elite of Brussels.
I never said.
So I really think that we need to be very careful on this topic. And the other thing is that the context is always changing. And, Schengen has a system that allows national the countries to put back the national border for 6 months, and they can actually doing from 6 months to 6 months. Germany did it, Austria, the specialist for this.
Many countries did it, yeah.
Slovakia, Slovenia. So this is the proof that we have a problem. It's not working properly. And actually we can have Romania joining totally the Schengen zone, and after the first problem, they will probably close the border for 6 months, and this is a scenario. And it can go like this way for years.
Mm-hmm. That's a very pessimistic view.
Yeah.
Let's hope that the audience have some questions that could cheer up us. We have 15 minutes left from this panel, and I will be a very strict moderator. So I would suggest to take questions from the audience and then just go and answer them. Questions? None? Yes, please. The colleagues are bringing you the microphone.
Thank you. So it was mentioned that for 11 years nobody was interested in this Schengen question in Romania. First question, why? Because I think people felt it's a problem. What about politicians? What about diplomacy? So they didn't care? Or what was the problem that it wasn't on an agenda? Then it came the moment it was put on agenda, but then there is a meeting, you have to prepare for the meeting, and you could feel that Austria maybe will have a problem. So then you make some preparation, you make something, you make a deal, you give something for something. So it seems it was dilettantism, or what was the problem? So what's going on? Is there any hidden agenda, or they didn't want basically, so or what?
If I want to be very short, like our moderator said, it was only foolishness. I mean, nothing else. They weren't prepared. If you remember, I was so criticized on TV because I was the very first to ask for the resignation of the foreign minister of Romania. that was me on the very day of 8th of December. Nobody asked how to say something about our foreign god. And that was but it was absolutely foolishness. Yes, they didn't treat with anybody. They didn't put it from 2011 until 2022 on the agenda. Actually, until 2020, because they didn't finish the justice and the internal affairs problem. The border is totally secure. From this point of view, Romania is much secure than it's, I don't know, maybe Croatia or other countries. I mean, we put probably 3 or 4 billions in order to have video cameras with night vision. We are more prepared than Poland, that's for sure. If you are going on the eastern border of Romania to Republic of Moldavia or going in the Danube Delta, you are going to see we are a sort of a militarized country there. But in the terms of politics, they weren't prepared. That's the fact. I was short.
Another question. I did see your hand raised here in front. Here in front, please have András.
Thank you, Betlen János, MCC. My question would be, it seems to me that the narrative around Schengen in Romania is something like we have the right to enter, and I'm a little bit missing why would the others want that? So what is the benefit for the Western countries of we joining the Schengen? I understand what is the benefit for the Romanian society, but it is not clear for me what is the benefit for Germany or Austria or the other Western countries.
First of all, it's about the treaty. I mean, when we joined in 2007 European Union, both of those parties, in European Union, Romania and Bulgaria in the same package, signed the same paper and said, in 2011, after you, Romania, are going to finish the red flag of justice and internal affairs, you are going to join directly into the Schengen area. It was not beneficial or something. It was a deal between two states, let's say, two institutions. In 2011, if you remember, you stayed here for a while, France and Germany said, okay, but you didn't finish, you didn't make your classwork, so you have to accept that will be the MCV, that means the mechanism for control and verification for the judicial structure, and that led us until 2022, under this institution, MCV. But after the MCV was lifted, we were absolutely right to go directly in Schengen without any opposition from no one. Austria just appears with no reason at all and make veto. That was everything else. It was not about benefits of Austria. It was our right, I mean, written in the treaties, that's all.
Mr. Schoellhammer, what could be the benefit for Austria?
Yeah,
Uso.
As a very quick point, I mean, everybody kind of, you know, if you engage with the mechanics within the European Union, it is true that kind of, I agree with you that Austria all of a sudden disappeared, but this does not mean that the Austrians didn't talk to nobody behind closed doors. If the Germans would have told the Austrians, if you do a veto, then you'll see what's going to happen. So nobody, this is the thing, right? The Austrians said no, but nobody was pressuring the Austrians to say yes. so that all of a sudden 7 million, or at the time 8 million Austrians have this tremendous power to single-handedly decide who joins and who doesn't join. Now, it seems like it correctly, but that's also because the powerful players allowed them to do so. But I liked your question, because your question is both crucially important, but it also kind of, once again, points to the very heart of the problem we have in Europe. You cannot solve, let's call it cultural, ideological identity issues with legal structures, right? This is the idea. And there's, I think, one of the reasons why within the European Union, and this goes also back to your elite point, with which I do agree, actually. So the bureaucratic apparatus in Brussels is sometimes seeming to to jump into hypergear. Why is that the case? Because they see that kind of due to neo-nationalism, also due to right-wing populism, which in parts I myself support, but there's also a dark side to it, they see that stuff starts to drift apart. So they try by kind of regulatory mechanisms to keep this whole thing together. But of course, which also then means that within the nation states, they say, wait a moment, Brussels is becoming an imperial power. Which, again, is not entirely wrong, because they try to keep something together that's drifting apart, because they try to kind of solve an ideological problem with a legal framework. But this is not how things work. And by the way, they do this, again, also in their external policy. I believe, that's my personal opinion, and I would encourage everybody to disagree with me to have the debate. I find that Portugal, so close and yet so far, that Bulgaria and Romania are at least on the southeastern part together with Greece. Those are the borders of the kind of Europe you can put together in a union. There will never be Ukrainian EU membership. There will never be a Georgia in European Union. That's not going to happen. It might again be Austria who's going to veto it, and everybody else will say, thank God the Austrians said no. This is exactly how it's going to happen. In Hungary, there is no appetite for Georgian membership. Belarus is never going to be a member of the European Union. I mean, we have to look these things straight in the eye. The point is not, I'm an analyst, not an activist. Right? I would love the entire world to be one happy family, holding hands, trading, no borders, singing Kumbaya, right? Fantastic. Breakfast in France, lunch in Australia, dinner in Moscow. I'm all for it. But this is not how the world works. And the idea of the European Union to become an ever greater union, we know this model, by the way, and I'm going to be super provocative, because this is the Russian approach. You have an internal crisis. What do you do if you have an internal crisis? You start to expand. Right? And in many ways, we need to consolidate. Europe needs to consolidate, including getting Romania into Schengen. But that means kind of to really dedicate resources, monetary resources, ideological resources, and to say, yes, we are now the Europe of 27, or fine, on the Balkans, maybe Serbia, right? I think there might be something worth discussing. Let's say an EU of 30, and that's it. Now we consolidate, and not again go out and tell all kinds of countries, Armenia and Georgia and Ukraine, well, maybe someday you'll become a member. We did, by the way, last point, they say with NATO, right? You go to Ukraine and say, oh, you might become a NATO member. We don't tell you when, because it's never going to happen. And then you wonder, right, that you have these kind of catastrophes as they happen. Now, I'm very serious about this. The European elites are sometimes delusional in what is feasible and doable. And in good times, delusions are fun. But in bad times, they can be lethal. And we are, unfortunately, currently closer to bad times than the good times.
We have 5 more minutes. France. What could be the advantage of Romania joining Schengen's area for France? Mr. Yann Caspar?
Well, symbolically it's very important. As you may know, France has a common past culturally, and I think it would be a good sign. Start with the symbols, but this is very important, and I cannot see any coherent, massive opposition to this question in France. It's actually not, maybe it would be disappointing, but it's not on the political agenda in France anymore, so it's a topic. Economically, trade, there are a lot of French companies here, and problem with the delivery. There are a lot of families that are moving between France and Romania, so need to develop this part also. So classical benefits as a Western European, but I would say that for France it has a higher symbol than for other countries, I think. Back to the treaties, you may know the huge problem that we have nowadays with this European Union is once you sign a paper, you accept something, and then they changed the rules. Double standards is everywhere. So if you are a good student, you do your home class, it's absolutely not sure that they are going to let you in. Well, of course, the best example for this is Hungary and the EU funds that are not coming. But in Poland, it was exactly the same. They asked them to change something, they did it, and then they came up with other conditions. So,
except when they changed the
government,
leader.
yeah. Then everything was solved within 3 months, of course. Well, that's another topic, but still it's very similar. My point is that if the first thing that would be a good idea is just to apply the legislation. Same problem, for example, with the migration in France or the criminality. If we apply the existing legislation, it would work. It's such a mess, a chaos today in a lot of fields that actually the legislation are not applied anymore, and that's why it's kind of Orwellian, or at least Kafkaesque, that there was almost 20 years, 70 years that this paper was signed, this the Schengen acquis, you need to join, and we are here talking about this in 2024. This is completely ridiculous, and this is that there's a lack of political agenda, of course. Those are the national interests, but actually rather a concurrence of narrative, I would say. I cannot see any country that has real interest to oppose Romanian fully membership.
But neither interest, right?
I'm sorry?
But neither interest.
No, rather
except Hungary.
I know that there are countries that are more interested in this membership, but my point was to say that if we take a look at the question from a technical, economic point of view, I cannot mention any European member state that has good reasons to oppose the membership. Ideologically and the narrative in the media, that's different. With the campaign, I think I'm pretty sure it will start this summer in Austria again with the campaign, or maybe not, maybe they will find out another topic, I don't know. But that's clearly a risk. So yes, it's everything is, well, could...
I'm sorry,
yeah.
sorry, we do not have more
Okay.
time. We have 2 more minutes. And in these 2 minutes, I would like you to think about one last sentence that you would like the audience to leave with today. So just one sentence, as we have 1.5 minutes. So Mr. Schoellhammer.
Yeah, very quick. Europe is probably the greatest project that there has ever been. Nothing should be taken for granted, and it would be a tragedy if it would fail. So it's just a reminder, disagreeing with the European Union is not the same as disagreeing with the idea of Europe.
Thank you. Professor Zorano?
Yes, I totally agree with this sentence, but I have to underline the other problem. That means the politicians, even they are good or bad, they are necessary. So we do need make politics, and we do need go to the next election, even we do not have which to vote. But we have just to be there in order to say to the politician, yes, we are here. The people is in the city.
Mr. Caspar, one last sentence.
No, it's all this topic. It's a symptom. It's a sign that shows us that the way certain things processed within the European Union don't work properly, because again it's a scandal that more than 15 years after Romania and Bulgaria joined the EU, we are still talking about this. Yeah, last one is the pessimistic part. I'm not sure it's going to change.
let's hope that Agnieszka's laughter and her bubbly personality will be able to cheer us up.
I'm sure I will cheer
Thank
you
you.
up because there's a break for coffee, water, and lovely cakes. But please make sure to come back for 6 p.m. sharp because our guests have got flights to catch. So I really apologize for the short break, but make the most of it.
Thank you. Thank you.